Just waiting to see whether we're live or not before I get underway, and then we should be good to go.
And I'm scared to touch my phone because I've never used hotspot before. My internet connection's usually been pretty good.
Well, you can just keep your hands off your hotspot for the time being, because we are getting ready to go here. All right. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're watching us right around the world. That's right, it's your favourite time of the week, ladies and gentlemen. It is time for OTR. This time it's round 2. We were at Dubai Autodrome last week, which bear witness to a dominant performance from Trust to take the victory in the opening round of this championship ahead of Waffles and Bits and V-Fingers as well, who took P3. And who will it be this week? Here we are at the beautiful Laguna Seca Raceway in Monterey, California. I hope I've got that right, but a beautiful circuit. This one, 3.602 kilometres, and built way back in 1957, as we see Broomy sweeping through this track at the moment, as I welcome my co-commentator for yet another week, Rob Dog 1996, who's had a few internet troubles of recent times. Someone's pulled the plug over there in South Australia, but Rob, you've been you've managed to join us again for another week. Good evening to you.
Yes, I've managed to join us for another week. I've got my hotspot on, my hands are off my other hotspot, and we're back and ready to watch some racing again. It's actually kind of cool watching GT3 cars tonight, and I'll be spending the weekend at the track watching these cars feel real. So it's going to be really, really cool. And just a quick side note, Broomy's car looks very, very bloody unstable.
It certainly does. Very loose on the rear end, and that is not where he wants to be at the moment. He's currently in P2. Drivers yet to set a provisional pole position time tonight at this circuit. Like we said, talking about Broomy, Rob finished P9 last week. Almost a minute off the lead lap, or off the leader, I should say. Wasn't quite lapped, but I've got to ask you, mate, how do these cars look in real life? They look awesome on this game, and when we do our live streaming, mate, but they must be even better in person.
Yeah, they're pretty cool in person, I've got to say, Trev, although I'd rather crash one of these on the game than in real life, because I don't have the money to pay it 100 grand.
Neither do I. I'm also much better looking in person, Rob, for when you move to Victoria and have that stable internet connection at some point in the future. But anyway, Broomy is coming through to set a lap time at the moment, or is he starting his next hot lap? We'll find out soon enough as he comes across the line. In fact, no, I take it all back. Andy there was the man just behind Broomy, who set a 1:25.099, and that's a pretty competitive time so far tonight in this qualifying session, as Stephen Porosky, one of our beloved regulars and regular watchers of our live stream each and every Thursday night at 8 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time, says go Aussie go. But he's not going too far at the moment. Robbie's down in P9 and still in the pit lane as we see the time start to tumble now. 2 drivers in the 1:25, so this could be a very, very tight competitive session for pole position tonight.
Yeah, so I think it's going to be very, very tight. These are usually the guys that are always quite close to each other, especially Waffles, Truss, and Andy is a very good regular with these sort of cars, very quick. Big hands as well. I don't know why I'm thinking about Donald Trump at the moment. Very weird, but Waffles has actually gone quickest, still actually he's 1.2 seconds in front of Truss at the moment, so that's showing who's got the to get to go in the early stages of this session. Of course, these cars will be a lot quicker in the last 5 minutes, a little bit more rubber on the circuit. These cars will have a little bit more fuel taken out as well. Of course, these guys don't want to show their hand fully at the moment, even though there's 9 cars on the circuit. I can guarantee this is going to be very, very competitive. Somewhat quality over quantity, and certainly with GT3 cars, it's definitely that, Trev.
It certainly is. We absolutely love it, as we've got 10 minutes to go in this qualifying session. Andy there getting a little bit out of shape on that lap, but indeed it's Waffles at the moment with a 1:23.716 as V-Fingers just puts his name up there at the top of the leaderboard, or almost at the top of the leaderboard. He has provisional front row start tonight, just 2 tenths off of Waffles there. So we've seen drivers in the 125s, now into the 124s with Andy, Broomy and Truss all in the 124s at the moment, but still keep an eye out for Truss, especially there in P5. He's got a little bit of a habit, Rob, of just sneaking in there with a hot lap at the last minute. And, well, as soon as I say that, he's gone on to provisional pole position. So a stunning lap from Truss already with 9 minutes to go in the session.
Yes, that's a pretty good lap time, I've got to say, and I just got the word from our version of Bernie Eccleston, actually, and we're not talking about Wilco at the moment, we're talking about Aussie Bro. He's saying the lobby is bugged, so these boys who just put in some lap times, they're going to be hating it in the next couple of minutes, because I do believe we're going to be jumping lobby, but I've got to say, yeah, Truss and Waffles look like the class act of the field at the moment. But you know what? V-Fingers, especially in this Audi here, that car looked really, really unstable with our rear stability under brakes last week. And I've got to say, it looks a lot better around here tonight. Very much aero circuit, this one. So I would expect that Audi to be pretty competitive tonight.
Yes, we are expecting the Audi to be very competitive. There's 7 people now tuning into this live stream. Like we say each week, get your comments in, and we will endeavour to answer those comments, feedback, questions, whatever you want. We are here to answer it. But and I think Aussie might have left the lobby, and he is going off to another lobby. So keep your eyes peeled for that, Rob. We might just keep broadcasting here on this channel, as professional as we are, as I'm guessing Aussie Bro is setting up another lobby as we speak. So these boys have a chance to get some lap times in, but I think we'll be switching in the not too distant future.
Oh, I mean, you got to view this session now as a sort of a very competitive free practice at this point. I mean, the good thing is we can stay professional, Trevor, although we could mention the Bob Semple tank, which means we could say, if there was any Kiwis in here, Kia ora, Krauts.
Yes, and boy, won't those Kiwis be up and about after last night's magnificent performance in the Cricket World Cup. But I digress, because qualifying is, well, this qualifying session anyway is finished. And I'd like to beg your pardon for a slight moment as I accept another invitation from Aussie Bro. How good are we travelling so far tonight? As you can just see there on your screen now, we are heading to another lobby. And a big Alvidazain to everybody, because we've just gone from one lobby to another, and now I'm getting another invitation, Rob, but I think that's for the same lobby, as I'm joining the session as we speak. So we've got off to a cracking start tonight for week 2 of this championship.
Yeah, it's a cracking start. I mean, actually, you know what? We could make fun of it, but I've got to say, it was pretty competitive last week. The cars spread out a little bit, and then in those last sort of 15 minutes of the race, it really tightened up, and it was almost anybody's game there for a good 12 minutes until Waffles made a mistake. So, yes, we are going great guns. Looks like great guns because of a shitty game, but that's how it goes sometimes with this streaming business, Truth.
Yes, shit happens, that's for sure. And we've just got to be adaptable and open to change, as my good mate John Dog 2010 joins the session. And yes, he was good enough to send me a few messages earlier in the week, and I've had probably too much alcohol to go into it now. But anyway, Australia also, Rob, as I digress once again, are 3 for 27, and they are on the comeback trail off of 10.2 overs. We were 3 for 14 at one stage. Dave Warner, Aaron Finch and Peter Hanscom back in the side this week for the big semi-final, and he is out. Let me tell you, England travelling along very, very nicely, but you never know. No one can judge the pitch until both sides have batted, so England have a habit of choking in not just Cricket World Cups, but every World Cup for that matter. But I am rambling on now, Rob, as we get ready to start this new session here at Laguna Seca Raceway.
Yes, I knew an Englishwoman, and she was a bit of a choker as well, but I'm not going to talk about that either, Trev.
Yes, we'll leave that. We'll focus back on the racing as we get ready for this track here. 11 corners, 3.6 kilometres, and we are racing here in the beautiful state of California. And well, this is a track that I remember watching Indy cars, kart races, and various other forms of motorsport here in years gone by. As Aussie Bro now who's, well, he was looking to go out of the pits there, Rob, but he's just teleported back into the pit lane. But that is a beautiful looking livery on that car as well, isn't it? These GT3 cars, once we get a few more YouTube subscribers and the donations and the money start flowing in, Rob, I can see you and I driving maybe one of those at some point.
Oh yeah, fun our racing career, certainly. Of course, I'll be the main driver. Trev can be the poster boy, though, maybe the man who runs the business, as I can see. Hook's Bentley, their Continental GT3 car that I actually had very happy memories of in my own league racing, I guess you could call it a career. Others would call it a fucking sad life, but have very happy memories of that car, and it's just getting all sideways on the dirt there. But what a great looking car, especially that silver, and a great note that thing produces.
Certainly is, and speaking of this circuit, in fact it might have just been me speaking about this circuit, but I've got a few famous corners here, don't we? The Rahal Straight, the Andretti hairpin, some very famous names in American motorsport. Not that the Andrettis did too good in Formula One. Well, I take it back. Mario Andretti, of course, the 1978 world champion. His son, Michael, not doing too good in Formula One, but nobody...
Well, that's debatable.
Yeah.
We could talk about that one for hours, though.
We could, but I guess he was teammates to Ayrton Senna at one point. But the corkscrew as well. So many challenging corners around here as LJ Hooker just getting around in the Bentley there, which also looks fairly unstable under brakes, Rob.
Yeah, that's very strange. Actually, the Bentley's a very weird front engine car to set up. Actually, usually you want the brake bias to about 54 to 46 front to rear to keep it really stable on the brakes. I will have to talk to Hook about that maybe after this race. Very difficult car to set up. Bit of a brick, if I have to say so, but a good solid GT car if you could get it set up well. But I've got to say, everybody seems to be running these Mercs again tonight, Trev, and it's almost the Merc Cup with a couple of sprinklings of the Ford Falcons in there. But we know what I'm talking about, supercars.
Yes, we certainly do. I thought you called Hooker. Oh, gee whiz, a few traffic issues there. As Hooked there, just getting out of the way. I thought you called him something else there for a split second, Rob. But I think you said brick. But anyway, as the times we saw 1 minute 25s, 1 minute 23s, I beg your pardon. Excuse my manners, as we see Hooked coming up to the corkscrew. Thank you, Mr. Hooker. As he comes through the corkscrew, a very challenging corner and a big change in elevation there, Rob. And it's one, if you don't get it right, it can ruin your entire lap around this circuit.
Yeah, it's a very strange corner to go into as well. Usually when you go into a corner, you want to be on the extreme right, and then you want to find that apex to get the cleanest way into there. But there's so many lines you can take through there. You just got to find the one that's going to be right for you in the car. Usually... especially with the BMW GT3 car, I find that if you sort of, I wouldn't say hug the inside, but middle left, it's probably the optimal line, but it's always down to the driver in these circumstances, and honestly there's no handbook on that type of corner.
No, that's right, as we see familiar GTR now. And where is he on the timing boards? Well, I can tell you he's set a 1:25.1, so the driver's yet to reach the sort of times that we saw in the first part of this stream tonight. The 1:23s, of course. Waffles and Truss are the closest to those times at the moment, with 11 minutes remaining in qualifying. As our good mate Wilco, who was a touch salty last week, but we did make up throughout the course of the week leading up to this week again. And, well, he's just focusing on the cricket at the moment. Rob, he says Australia are bleeped, and we're just not in a good way at the moment there. Only 2 players for England in the World Cup are actually born in England, #cheats. So Wilco, salty last week, and appears to be a little bit salty again.
Yeah, I mean, Wilco's a very salty man these days. I'm waiting for the day he gets salty about somebody else's dog, because let's be honest, he has a very, very cute dog, but one day there's going to be somebody who's going to walk past him with a very cute poodle. And he's going to be very salty about that as Familiar makes a move on to Hook there into the last corner on his qualifying run. That's sort of ruined his lap there, so he's going to have to find some more fresh air and go for it again. Actually, it's a very tough circuit when it comes to traffic, actually, lapped or on a qualifying run. You can see just getting locked up on the rears there. Managed to save a very good car control there, but very hard circuit to manage any traffic. If you're on a qualifying run, you want to make sure you've got at least a good 10 seconds ahead of you, just in case you get caught up with somebody, because it's one of those circuits where you've got to be on it all the time to get the ultimate lap time out of it.
Certainly is. It's a track where you've just got to hook it up to get a decent lap time, as Truss now getting into the 1 minute 22.7s, can you believe? So even quicker than our first lobby tonight, as Wilco up and about. And it's good to see that speedo as well. As you can see the speed these cars do around this circuit, the GT3 cars. Truss there, like I said, 6/10 ahead of Waffles in P2, Andy in P3. 1.4 seconds off pole position. As Familiar GTR there in the pit lane, and Waffles, well, he's knocking down more cones than... Well, I won't say it, Rob, but this is very competitive. We're seeing a lot of drivers as well trying to jostle for space on their hot laps, and very aggressive at the moment, which could see a very spicy race.
Yeah, so it could be a very spicy race. It's indeed, and actually, as Waffles is actually running Shane Van Gisbergen's livery from the Baptist 12 hour from a couple of years ago. When he was driving for that team, I cannot think of it, but Everest, no, the other one. Anyway, yeah, it's going to be really tough when it comes to getting a lap time in. There's certainly people jostling for position, just trying to get that clear air, and it's almost impossible around here. If you get that clear air, you most likely will stuff up your lap by going onto the dirt. So it's not really a win-win situation around the circuit, and sometimes you just wish there was only like 2 cars on the circuit. That's how bad it is sometimes for traffic, but you know what, they won't have to worry about that for at least the first 20 minutes in the race.
It certainly will be very important to get that start nice and early. And Waffles, where is he going to find that 6/10 of a second around this circuit? Of course, there is 11 corners as we see him now go up the hill, then back down again through the corkscrew, second gear, up into third gear, looking to take a tighter line through the rainy curve, heading up towards turn 10 and 11 to finish this lap. The sweeping corner at turn 10, got to brake nice and early there, and he seems to take a nice tight line there into turn 11 and out onto the start-finish straight as he comes across the line. And where is this going to put him on the leaderboards?
Yeah,
into pole position. Well, he looked like he was on song that lap, and he didn't seem to put a foot wrong. And now these times tumbling, but it's the Mercs that are still looking a bit twitchy at the rear end around this track.
Yeah, it's really interesting. Last week in Dubai, certainly higher temperatures on the circuit. And the Mercs look really, really good. And tonight it's looking like the rear-engine cars of the Audis and the McLarens are looking very, very good indeed. But never discount these Mercs, because they seem to go alright. And as I say, that Andy decides to show us all what that Merc's made of, and it's got into a tyre wall.
And not good indeed, as well, Wilco, he's up and about on the comment section, isn't he, as Aussie Bro there in that beautiful red liveried Mercedes-Benz GT3. He is 1.9 seconds off of pole position. So the top 3 all in the 122s, and then after that there is a big gap back to not only Aussie Bro but Familiar GTR and Broomy sweeping into the top 6. So he's got a third row start tonight. John Dock 2010, my lifelong friend there, 4.9 seconds off of pole position at B7. And the Wolf of Wall Street, Wolfie there in P8 ahead of LJ Hooker and V-Fingers there in P10. Just the 10 runners tonight, but different from last week where we had, I think we might have had 10 last week too, or maybe more, but we had 10 people finish the race that I know of, as we're counting down now. 5 minutes to go in this session. As Wilco very excited, just saying F2 cars meant to be released next week for online. If it's out by Thursday, you bet your bottom dollar that kit buyers will be streaming them next week. And the great man driving himself. I'm not sure whether he's talking about himself there, Rob, when he talks about the great man, or one of us. But, well, interesting. Wilco not thinking we're in for the long haul in this championship, but he's very much mistaken.
Yes, he's very much mistaken. He's trying to act like Vince McMahon at this point. This is WCW, and I think we're going to send the at least the Undertaker after him.
Well, the man we call Bernie Eccleston saying that would be Kid Byers, the great man, of course. He is speaking of yours truly, and I'm blushing there if anybody could see me. But I must say that there's still a bit of love here for Project Cars 2. I know there are so many other good games out at the moment, but this one aging like a nice wine at the moment, just still very enjoyable. And and we'll go up and about. But Familiar GTR there in P4. So still with a 124.288 as he comes out of the last corner and across the line. Can he improve on this lap, or is he starting a new lap? I think he might be starting another hot lap at the moment as he breaks down into turn 1, 5th gear, back down into second. And just not hitting it up, hitting the apex spot on there, Rob, and he's managed to mess up this lap, unfortunately.
Yeah, it seems like those Mercs are actually suffering with rear locking, which is the problem that the Audis had last week in the hotter temperatures. So it seems like those Mercs, I could certainly say that Familiar's probably braking just a tad little bit too late, getting into the corner, and as soon as he tries to put a little bit of lock onto that wheel, the rears lock up, and it's a little bit of a scary ride going into that hairpin. But yeah, as I said, never discount those Mercs. I mean, certainly there's one sitting in second at the moment, driven by Andy Holden in a beautiful livery, black and white. He's almost trying to be Michael Jackson at some point there. But I've got to say, yeah, they're not looking very comfortable to drive at the moment, the Mercs, but certainly very quick.
Very quick. Very quick indeed, but uncomfortable as Aussie Bro now comes out of the last corner. A bit of a few drivers still having issues with some traffic at the moment. 3 minutes to go in this session now, and Aussie goes up to 5th, and he sent Familiar GTR and Broomy down a couple of spots there. But, well, it seems like that midfield, we said it earlier on in the stream tonight, Rob, that midfield very, very close with the exception of those three guys at the top. There's a bit of a gap, isn't there, between the top three and the rest of them. But now V-Fingers with a 123.3, splitting 3rd and 5th. So, well, these drivers now just have the opportunity to have maybe 1 or 2 more runs in this session. But with a 40-minute race, of course, as always, Rob, it's got to come down to that concentration and who can maintain their focus, especially around a challenging circuit such as this.
Yeah, I mean, this is actually, on my view level of this circuit, I feel like this is probably a harder circuit than the launch stuff, to be honest. It just feels like it changes, every lap. Especially when you get drivers going off on the dirt, and especially with this game, you will drag dirt back onto the circuit. It just changes how this circuit drives and where the grip levels are. So if somebody goes off at the last corner per se, and they come back on, they're dragging all that dirt back onto the circuit, right to where the acceleration line is, and when you try and put the hammer down and the car doesn't grip up, or you're onto that big concrete wall onto the right or left hand side there. So yeah, it's a very, very hard circuit to get right at the best of times, and then when you're trying to put all your concentration into one basket, and you just lose a lapse of a concentration, or you make a little mistake, it can really they can really change and stuff you up for the next couple of laps. So very, very hard circuit, this one.
It certainly is indeed, and taking no prisoners at the moment is Aussie Bro, who set that 123.371, just 0.8 off of pole position, and indeed a man who's probably trying to take the mantle as the new Bernie Eccleston, and I mean that with the greatest respect to Wilco, but he just absolutely, it's the second week of this championship, and he just kidnapped the two prized recruits of Wilco, of course, in Rob Dog and myself. But less than a minute to go in qualifying now. No hard feelings between Wilco and Aussie Bro. I'm sure, as we often say, they'll be still on each other's Christmas card list come December. But, well, speaking of coming in December, not just Santa, who's going to be giving the presents out tonight. If Andy can jump up into pole position here. I'm not sure where I'm going with that, Rob, but anyway, he comes out of the last corner. He's going to have another crack at a hot lap here, but he is 4/10 off of pole position. Where can he end up? Can he take pole position tonight? No. Oh my goodness, he's just a 10th off of Waffles in P1. And don't forget about Truss either with, 15 seconds remaining.
Yeah, certainly don't forget about Truss. I was actually waiting for you to announce that you've got another baby on the way, and I would have told you to put that thing back where it belongs to. But we're right along with Truss here on this lap, looking for the braking zone right there in the 300-metre board. Beautiful. Straight down to the left-hand side, probably where the most grip is. You don't want to go braking in a normal fashion down there, because it seems you get the car very unsettled, very cautious into here. Little bit of understeer coming into that corner, onto the dirt. Really looking like a struggle, this Mercedes, in the medium speed corners here. On that ripple strip, you can see the rear end just sliding around. This car looks very, very scary. Looking for the braking zone again, 200 metres in, and the car's very understeery, isn't it, Trev? It's just not getting into the apex. Usually you use that little bit of the camber in that road there to get around, like a slingshot, very much. Getting around there, you can see now he's just given up and he said, stuff it.
And stuff it indeed, because that is the end of qualifying for most people, but not for Andy now, as he's got one more crack at pole position. He missed out last time by 1/10 of a second. Can he get the job done this time around? He comes across the line. I don't think he's been able to do it this time around. And as Wilco, they're getting up and about on the stream. Just getting very Liam Neeson there. I will find you, and I will kill you. Thank you for that, Wilco. But meanwhile, Waffles and Bits taking pole position. Andy couldn't improve his position in P2. Truss in P3. And Aussie Bro there rounding out the second row of the grid ahead of V-Fingers in P5. And Short Fuse 141. Who I think was racing last week ahead of my good mate John Dog 2010. Don't we love, yes, we love each other. Broomy sweeping into 8th position there. Familiar GTR is in P9. And it's Thank You Mr. Hooker in P10 as I try and just get... It's the Wolfie there in P11, and that is pretty much your starting grid. He's done a Robert Kubica there, driver of the day. Get your votes in. 5.5 seconds off the pace. That's the sort of times I'd be setting. I reckon if I was racing here tonight. But I talk quicker than I drive, Rob, as we get ready to get underway for a 40-minute race around Laguna Seca tonight. And I think we may have lost Rob. Are you there, Rob? Come in, Rob Dog.
Oh, it looks like we're getting a message through that it's another bugged lobby.
Oh, goody. So, well, third time lucky.
Probably a random grid.
I thought you'd done a Virat Kohli on me there, Rob. I thought you'd gone missing when I needed you the most. But anyway, you are back, which is a good start. And, well, maybe Wilco's just cut the cord on this lobby. And as he's just up and about in the comments section still, isn't he? So we might have to, have another start here. A second false start, but we might be good to go again here, I think, as there seems to be some connection issues at the moment.
Yes, it certainly seems like there's some connection issues there. I've got to say, although the false starts, it sounds like something an old girlfriend or a wife would say about their husband at their workplace. Oh, he's got a bit of a false start on him. But, yeah, it's looking interesting for the race now, because usually in these circumstances, Aussie Bro does come from the Friday Night League. So usually what we'll do here is just dump you in a race, and you get given what position you get given. So it could really mix it up right now.
Yes, it certainly could, as Wilco says. All right, enough of this. Catch you guys tomorrow morning at 7 a.m. when the race gets underway. That's very good there, Wilco. We will see you tomorrow night, as I can hear my own voice in the background now. It's just getting weirder and weirder, isn't it? We've got Rob on the Wi-Fi, or indeed on the mobile hotspot, as we see the drivers on your grid there. Well, we've lost half of them. So this is absolutely magnificent, as Hooked just chiming in there and saying the lobby keeps freezing up. And that, well, I guess we're shit out of luck this tonight here as Wilco. Thank you. Catch you this weekend for F1 Trev. Yep, I'll be on, so stay tuned for that. As Robbie's saying, how much for a good time? I'm guessing he's not talking about you're not talking about track times or lap times there at all, Rob.
No, I'm certainly not. I'm asking Hooker if he's available sometime this weekend. I'm good between the times around about 5 o'clock and 10 o'clock in the afternoon to night time. I would like to invest in a business opportunity for at least 20 minutes.
Yes, and well, the perfect little distraction from that, Rob, not to just go off topic here, but Australia on the comeback trail now, 3-4-45 off 14.2 overs there in the World Cup semi-final. The former captain Steve Smith, 15 off 39 balls, along with the wicketkeeper Alex Carey, 11 off of 23. And, well, it's not over until it's over, as they say. And you never quite know, 3 for 45, if we can get to maybe 230, 240 here tonight in the Cricket World Cup semi-final over there in England. We saw India choke last night, so Rob, anything's possible.
Oh man, I like when the Indians choke, to be honest, because that means there's less competition in the World Cup. That being said, though, the Kiwis are looking pretty handy with the bat and ball this World Cup, and that is very frightening because we don't want anybody of the name of It's Mighty Merv having any bragging rights over Australia. He almost had that last SRL season, Trevor, and we just couldn't have that, so we paid somebody to take him out of the race.
We certainly did, and I think it's time that he knows about it too, because it was all staged, it was all organised, talking about match fixing and fixing in general. But as we get ready, we've got 12 drivers, 13 drivers now out of the 18 drivers in the lobby, or that could be in the lobby, ready to go. We just need to get things underway. So I'm not sure how this is going to work. Do we just dump them all straight into a race, Rob, or do we have to do another qualifying session? I'm not sure how this works.
So usually it will be we'll dump them straight into the race and let them have at it, which is very, very entertaining for us, Trev. Not so great for them because they're going to have to get past some very slow traffic. So it's going to be great, and maybe, you know what? Maybe Wolfie is the driver of the day tonight.
He certainly could be. He's got my vote. But it's been a bit of a weird night, hasn't it? Who knows what else we're going to experience here tonight. But this is what we love about this live streaming business. It's all live and unedited, and really we say whatever we want, we do whatever we want, and we absolutely love everybody's company here tonight. How much for a good time? And Hooker's just said, I think we're doing a rolling start next attempt. So I'm not quite sure whether he's got your attempted humour there, Roberto. But anyway, Andy's saying my game froze this time. And, well, boy, we're shit out of luck tonight so far. But anyway, we're third time lucky, and we're going to have another crack at this. How good is this? Hello, everybody, and welcome to Laguna Seca again. And we're going to load up a lobby again. And I'm not too sure how these Californians talk, but we haven't really offended too many people so far, Rob, except the New Zealanders, Wilco and Hooker and a few other people. But we should be ready to go once this loads up. We're going to get straight into the race tonight.
My God, I love a good hooker and I love a good race, so it's going to be very interesting. So hopefully just dumping him straight into the race actually jumbles up the grid a little bit, and we get some spicy action. And of course we get some spicy action because Sparumi is on pole, Hooked is in second, Truss is in third, and Familiar GTR is in fourth. So, gee, this could be a bit of a humdinger.
Certainly could be a diddly 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 diddly. Yeah, boy. With Ned 83 out of the championship or out of our live streams, I've been waiting about 6 weeks to talk like that. But anyway, all in good fun now as the countdown timer is ready to go. And beautiful shot there from Steve Smith. Anyway, 16 off of 40 balls. I've got that on one screen, but I need to really focus on the other monitor at the moment as I just get my headset ready to go racing. You can see there the beautiful Mercedes on pole position. And, boy, I'd feel a little bit hard done by, wouldn't you? I'm guessing we've got a random grid here tonight, but that'll just make things a little bit more exciting, Rob.
Yes, it's looking very, 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 very great. And gee, the internet's not hooking up tonight because apparently there's more talk of the of the racing being quite bugged at the moment. So that's very unfortunate. Maybe we'll get a start eventually. I can imagine what the marshals are going out through. They're my digital brothers in arms at this point. But yeah, geez, I bet they're all contemplating suicide at this point.
Yes, and it's a very real problem if you're thinking about suiciding or anything like that.
Shit.
Yeah, let's not go there, as people just keep tagging me in weird shit on Facebook, don't they? But anyway, I'm getting distracted yet again because the race is technically going. We are counting down now. Yes, beyondblue.com.au, 1-800-367-465. Get onto it if you are feeling a little bit down. But why would you be? Because you're listening to Rob Dog and myself, and that would get anyone up and about on a Thursday night, as I think we're having issues yet again. And you're laughing again, Rob. But this is no laughing matter, as I think our lobby is fucked yet again. And we might have to start for a fourth time. This is incredible, unbelievable stuff. It's bugged again, and I'm getting a bit pissed off now, but we are going racing with 5 people. I reckon that's about as good as we're going to do tonight. Is into the first corner, Broomy leads. Bet you never thought he'd be there, but it is Mercedes 1, 2 and 4 at the moment. But Aussie is doing another complete reset. But meanwhile, we can commentate on this race, Rob, as Broomy leads out of turn 1. Truss tucking in behind him. Somebody off in the background there. Andy off in the back there in the weeds. But anyway, enough about that. As Waffles going off the track, maybe gaining an unfair advantage, but he has slotted into P3. So a very exciting start to this race, albeit not the actual race that we're meant to be watching.
Yes. Do you think, while this fake real race is going on there, Trev, do you reckon that Hitler would have won the war if he called Beyond Blue?
Well, oh my goodness, things are getting a little bit testy there, but that's a very good question. It's a bit like the old joke about him getting the gas bill, isn't it? No, we will never know. As Waffles and Bits losing, well, he's sitting in the gravel there with no rear wing. But Broomy is out in front. As you know what, I've got no idea whatsoever what is going on here. But anyway, we're just going to stick with it at the moment. But because we do believe in the glorious final victory, of course, Rob Dog. And who knows, we still need to conquer that living space in the east and for our drive on Moscow. But what am I doing? I'm getting a little bit off topic here. This is something for when we're off air, I'd say.
Oh shit! All right, I need to fucking get myself up. Everything's fine here. We're on live on the. Yep, Trev, help.
Yep. All right. So we are getting ready for Aussie Bro, I think, to send us another invite, and that is very good indeed. As Go Broomy says, LJ Hooker, and well, we're losing them, aren't we? It's these bad internet connections, they're spreading like wildfire, as Broomy, without anybody else really to race against in this race, is still making a bit of a balls of it at the moment. But he comes back into the corkscrew now, and, and he's just... Look at it. I believe I can fly. I believe I can touch the sky. I believe. Anyway, as boy, this is just this is amazing, isn't it? We've been on air for nearly an hour, and shit is about to get real. As we have a third or fourth crack at this, I'm actually losing count at the moment. But you know it's getting bad, Rob, when we're talking about Operation Barbarossa again, and we're not actually talking about the racing.
God bless the final solution. That's all I can say. As there's tears coming out of my eyes, I regret to inform everybody that Nazi Germany has lost the war.
Yes, but they will rise again. But anyway, just putting politics to the side for 1 minute. Because do we have any Kiwis in this lobby? Because it would be getting quite late over there, wouldn't it? In New Zealand, not that we really care about that. But anyway, at a more sociable time. Untermensch, yes, that's right. Oh boy, I don't like where this is going. I thought it was bad a few weeks ago when we started swearing on the air. But anyway, so John Dog 2010 in that jazzy-looking purple liveried car.
Can you send me an invite because I haven't got one?
Oh, okay. Well, how do I do that?
Press R2.
R2. Yep, we can. Oh, here we go. Invite players. Thank you, Rob. Just letting me know what to do here. So I think if I go down to Rob Dog 1996, which is in alphabetical order, so I'm getting there. And boy, this is going to get worse before it gets better, I reckon, as I'm still going down to Rob Dog. I'm just trying to find you there, Rob Dog, Rob Maverick Spicy Boy, and always makes it easier, of course. The spiciest of all, indeed. Always helps when you send a real name request, and you can go off the real name instead of the PSN name. So here we go again. Rob Dog has joined, and that was a little bit. Well, I guess you can say it's a little bit rude from Aussie Bro. Anyway, not to bag him out or anything, but just not inviting our man Rob Dog into the lobby. But do I have to do anything else, Rob? Do I have to invite you to be a
No,
director?
you just
or anything?
you need to look beautiful as always, Trev.
Yes, it's not easy, but I'm the best qualified to do it. As well, we've got 13 drivers back in the lobby, and we are ready to get these little Untermenschen going here at Laguna Seca Raceway. And if you thought we couldn't go any lower, you are wrong, because we've still got a 40-minute race ahead of us, and a lot can happen between now and then. And speaking of a lot happening, Australia still on the comeback trail in the second semi-final of the ICC Men's Cricket World Cup. 3 for 56 off of 16.2. So while we've still got Smithy there, the former captain, there's still hope. And from all reports, Alex Carey has copped one on the chin from that guy who bowls for England. Archer, I think it is, the black man. And he's very, very pacey indeed. And then just delivering up all sorts of short stuff. And they will be very, very sweaty over there in England. But anyway, we are just about to go racing now, as everybody is ready for this circuit. They'll unless I guess if nothing else, Rob, they've got a few practice laps in tonight, and they should be good to get underway straight away.
I have a headache from all the times you've made me laugh so far, but yes, they will be ready to get underway. It's going to be very, a little bit frustrating for them at the moment, because they'll just want to get straight into the race, and this is where people tend to get a little bit, what's the word I can say, argy-bargy would be the correct definition, I do believe. This is where people just make some moves that will never work and cause accidents, and that's bad for them, but really great for us.
It certainly is. We love that kind of action, that is for sure. And I'm going to close Facebook now, so I don't keep getting messages from people called
Driver
Rahul.
of the day.
But
Wolfie's on
driver of the day, the Wolf of Wall Street, Toto Wolff there in P1, and he'll just be thinking, this is so good, I'm starting from P1. But he's probably not even Austrian, if I didn't know any better. But it's the Wolf 464 starting from pole position. Truss, well, he's in a very familiar position there. It's not P1, but it's P2, and he'll have a perfect run around the outside. Into turn one, Rob. So he's in pretty good position. And Aussie, bro, well, this is not rigged. He's in P3 as well, so a second row start for him.
Yes, it's a second row start for him. And I'm just going to say, Toto Wolff is Austrian. He is Austrian, and he was actually a Formula 3... he was a Formula 4 champion in Germany, so he's actually a very quick man, actually, Toto Wolff.
Yes, watching the podcast with him and Nico Rosberg today at work. It's funny you bring that up. I think 1994 German Formula Ford champion. Before, I think he had some sponsorship issues after Carl Wendlinger's accident in Monaco back in 1994. But a bit of a trivia question around the bar, I reckon, that one, Rob, when we're just admiring the views at the Berghof in southern Germany. But anyway, with 38 and a half minutes remaining in this session, as we just think about our glorious final victory at the moment, he'll be thinking about his first victory rather than the final victory for It's the Wolf 464. We're ready to go racing. Finally, thanks for sticking with us. We've only had to make you wait about 40-something minutes, but we are ready for action here. at Laguna Seca Raceway. The engines fire up, the drivers steer down into turn 1, and they are away. And what a start from Truss out of P2 straight into the lead, heading down into turn 1. And it's the Wolf all the way down to 4th, 5th position so far. He's got an awful start. Andy up into P2 now, going around the outside of Truss. What a start we're seeing here tonight, Rob.
Yes, beautiful drive from what the heck is going on here. So I do believe we're doing a formation start. So what we've done actually is we've gone in for 5 seconds and we've lost our load. And everybody in the comment section is very disappointed. And
yes, thank you for sticking with us. And speaking of sticking around, we just need a box of tissues because I think we're leading this race at the moment, Rob, judging by that start. But boy, got absolutely no idea what is happening, not just on this stream, but pretty much in everyday life, I've got to say. But that is nothing new, I'm sure you're all thinking out there. But, well, I guess we must be just arranging the grid into its proper order. But you can see that the Mercedes of Andy Holden, the black and white car, ahead of Truss in P3. So this is not uncommon, Rob. Online racing, we always have trouble with internet connections. And we do see this from time to time, this rolling formation lap and rolling start before we get underway.
Yeah, the internet is der Juden, yeah. Der Juden. But I've got to say, it's that's what happens sometimes. There's some really crappy weather in South Australia at the moment. Even my internet connection's gone to the shits. So I'm just using a hotspot off my phone, and I can imagine other people, probably in the lower parts of Victoria. Of course, Victoria is just a low part, but we won't talk about that, the piles of shit. But yes, it's very confusing, and we should just probably blame the NBN at this point as we're getting ready for a start.
We certainly are. As somebody off into the pits there, it could be my lifelong friend Jog Dog. I don't go jogging, I know that for a fact. As we get ready to go racing now, and it is Waffles ahead of Andy Truss. 1, 2 and 3. John Dog in the pits. I'm not sure why he would be in the pit lane. Maybe an early start for a tyre change. There's a few...
Somebody's gone off there. I'm not too sure, but it doesn't look like there's any damage on any cars. Everybody's gotten through quite cleanly, and now Truss is the man that's following and doing the chasing on Waffles. So it's a big turnaround from last week.
Everybody's, well, for the best part, got away cleanly here tonight, and it's Waffles 1 second ahead of Truss in a P2, ahead of someone, who's that in P3 there? Short Fuse 141, thank you very much for that. And then there's a slight gap back to V-Fingers, of course. Then it is Aussie Bro, the new Wilco, the new and improved Wilco 2.0, the man they call Bernie there in P5, Andy in P6. He did come into some trouble. He didn't seem to hit anybody, Rob, but he got a bad start from this race.
Yeah, not a great start from Andy. He would have been, I think he qualified third, so he has dropped back about 3 places. So that's not a great start for Andy Holden, but certainly he's got the car pace, but the car looks very, very scary to drivers. And Hooked gets onto the dirt there, very dirty hooker he is, and Broomy just wants to sweep up that dirt from behind the dirty hooker and get past, and hopefully he doesn't catch anything from the dirty hooker.
Ah, yes, just working beautifully like you always do, Rob. Just bringing the goods each and every week, and that is why, folks, we have 7 people watching this live stream, because I can't think of anywhere else I would rather be, unless it was looking over the beautiful Rhineland, of course, there in Germany. But anyway, enough about our political views. Once again, 35 minutes remaining in this race. Lap 3 already, of course, one of those being a formation lap. But Waffles really showing the pace at the moment. But he is not the quickest man on track. It is Short Fuse actually setting a 126.4, and those times are pretty competitive and pretty pacey in the early part of this race tonight.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, Short Fuse was just getting his head around the league last week. Didn't finish spectacularly, I've got to say, but he's up in a third at the moment, very early on in this race, but he's looking very, very racy at the moment. So Truss certainly has somebody to keep him very honest tonight, and of course Truss has to keep Waffles honest tonight, but Waffles is just sprinting away, almost like Far Lap, but instead of having 4 legs he has 2, and I've got to say Far Lap's probably a lot better looking.
Certainly is. Probably not so much at the moment because unfortunately he is dead. And yes, that is not good. But yes, him and Don Bradman, great legends, of course, of Australia. And they just couldn't really take it well, could they, those pesky Americans? And they poisoned him. Those, well, that was just very, very bad indeed. But Truss, oh boy, he is hunting Waffles down. And Short Fuse, well, the man who we were going on about as being the quickest man on the track last time around is spun his around. And, well, he is all the way down to P7 now, 10 seconds off the lead. But look at this battle. V-Fingers and Aussie Bro getting very, very close indeed. As you can see, V-Fingers there sporting that very Americana livery there with the eagle. I think it's an eagle, and the blue and white livery there. Very American, little bit of red there as well. Very patriotic, don't mind the blue wheels either, if I don't say so myself. But I've got a feeling, Rob, with just over half an hour to go in this race, that if no one can really cut that gap to Waffles and Truss, it's going to be a two-horse race in the early stages of this one.
Yeah, certainly it was almost a two-horse race last week as well. I mean, this man V-Fingers was actually keeping them very, very honest, the two boys at the front last week. I've got to say, though, I'm not a fan of the patriotic livery, I've got to say, because it's got a bald eagle on it. As we both know, Trev, the bald eagle is just a bitch eagle compared to the wedge-tail eagle. The wedge-tail eagle will take on paragliders, small aircraft and kangaroos, but the bald eagle only takes on small fish, so it's a subhuman, if you will, eagle in my eyes. But you can see that V-Fingers getting a little bit out of shape in the last corner onto the dirt, allowing Aussie Bro and Andy Holden now getting past there. So V-Fingers makes that little mistake, and this is the way this circuit really works. So you make a little mistake and it will pay you big prices. So he's dropped back to fifth now. Now he's got a lot of work to do.
Certainly is, and boy, he does have a lot of work ahead of him. 12.5 seconds now off the lead. And if you're out there, if you're watching this live stream, for God's sake, send us a comment, whether it's feedback or negative or positive, or any advice, questions you may have. Like I said, this is a democracy, but we probably will only read out the positive feedback just for your information. And you were talking about the glorious eagle there before, but we're only really interested in the glorious German eagle. And you mentioned the bald eagle. But I keep thinking of Colonel Klink from Hogan's Heroes. A lot of people probably too young to get that reference. But great show, Hogan's Heroes, and definitely something that I like to watch on a rainy Sunday afternoon with a beer or two. But anyway, 32 minutes to go in this race, Rob. Waffles, 2 seconds, make that 2.2 ahead of Truss, and he left 0.8 of a second quicker than him on that last lap. So really dominating the early part of this race.
Yeah, certainly dominating the early part of this race. He's looking very, very racy at the moment, I've got to say. Of course, this man was actually in the Mercedes last week. So he's jump marquees, jump manufacturers. He's gone from the Mercedes into the McLaren. It's a very weird situation that would be now. Of course, that McLaren, when that car was made, especially the Import P4-12C, was made, it had practically a Mercedes engine in it. Actually, a fun little fact. The engine in these McLarens actually came from the Nissan R390 Le Mans car, and there was only a few road cars ever made. And then McLaren thought, you know what, we like the V8 in that car, and we're going to buy the block IDs. So they bought the blocks, and that's what sits in all the McLaren cars today.
Excellent bit of trivia there. That's why we pay this man the big money. And, well, I don't think Wilco could afford you, because absolutely magnificent. We love that. We love our motorsport, as do you at home. We love our history of motorsport and, well, everything motorsport, anything with four wheels and an engine. Unless it's got four wheels and an engine, I think, as Martin Brundle used to say, it's not a real sport, in my opinion. But British Grand Prix this weekend as well, so keep an eye out for that. And I will be pretty much just drinking piss and watching motorsport this weekend. But anyway, enough about my personal life. Half an hour left in this one, and these times are tumbling, Rob. We're almost seeing qualifying times in the race at the moment.
Yeah, certainly the guys at the moment really putting in the lap times at the moment. I wouldn't expect them to be very warm conditions out there at the moment. So everybody will have the soft tyres strapped on, getting the most the grip and heat the tyres at the moment. So these boys really hammering it at the moment. But it's going to be interesting though to see what happens if they, how long they can go on like this, Trev, especially with tyre wear. Those guys who are hanging back at the moment a little bit, I don't think they're hanging back by choice, to be honest. I think they're actually limited at this point because Waffles and Truss are just absolutely just on the walls, nailing it. But it'll be interesting though to see those boys just in the 3 backwards. If they're going to have to time off at the end of this race, maybe they can bring that gap in a little bit closer. But gee, it's very early days at the moment.
It certainly is still a long way to go in this race. Speaking of lap times, there Waffles dipping into the 122.9s, the first driver to do so in this race tonight. Only lap 8 of this race. And you mentioned, Rob, a long way to go indeed, as Andy there currently lapping in the 124.7s and 13 seconds off of the lead. And we're seeing the field spread out a fair way as Andy... He's had trouble, hasn't he, all night, Rob, with that with turn 1. He just can't quite seem to tie up the car there. And a very scruffy lap on that occasion from Andy.
Yeah, it certainly actually seems like a Mercedes problem because Andy's not the only one that's doing it there, but he's certainly being the bravest out of the bunch with the Mercedes issue at the moment. So at the moment, V-Fingers would have actually seen that. And now he's just going to be applying as much pressure as he can. He won't be going for the solid overtake, I don't think. He'll just be applying pressure until he makes a mistake, and then V-Fingers will swoop in like the mighty bald eagle to get that little piddly fish, unlike the mighty German eagle swooping in there, getting in a little bit of Poland. But that's a story for another day, Trev.
Yes, don't mind if I do. And speaking of getting a little bit of Poland, I think Andy wants the whole damn thing there. And you can just see, look at that, 4th and 5th there going hammer and tongs at the moment, but Andy seems to have a penalty. And, well, V-Fingers, he's got absolutely no chance of passing him at the moment. And you've got to say Andy in a very good position. And, well, Andy's a bit like the Wehrmacht at the moment, and you've got to say V-Fingers, he's a bit like Danzig, Rob.
Yeah, certainly he's a bit like the Wehrmacht, and... I've got to say, it's just that car looks so awful in the turn 1, and especially in that braking zone. It just seems like he's trying to be too brave on the brake pedal there, and he's just taking it way too deep. And of course, now that V-Fingers is actually caught onto the back of him a little bit, you can see Andy just overdriving a little bit too much. It's very easy to overdrive cars, actually, when you're under pressure from behind. Very easy way to make a mistake. You're just trying to get that little bit of extra time, eke it out every little inch, and you can just go overboard. And as you will see now that V-Fingers has done the same thing. With chasing as well. If you make a little mistake, the guy at the front makes a little mistake, the guy behind usually makes it twice as bad. You could say that V-Fingers certainly did that there. He's getting on the dirt, had the corkscrew, not ideal. Some would say suboptimal, a little bit untermensch, that racing line.
Certainly is, but he's got, well, it's 2 seconds now, that gap, as we take a look at the man in second place. And if I didn't know any better, you've just got to say that Truss, who's set a 123.9 on that last lap, he's dropping about half a second a lap, Rob, to Waffles there in P1. But we've seen Truss in previous rounds and in previous races. He gets quite content. He's quite happy to sit there about 4 or 5 seconds off the leader. And we have seen him make a late charge throughout the middle part of the race, and in fact the latter part of the race, as we take a look further down the field now between Broomy and LJ Hooker. And I reckon Broomy is going to sweep right up behind this Hooker, Rob, and put all sorts of pressure on him at the moment. But these cars just can't seem to stay on the black stuff at the moment.
Yeah, these Mercedes are looking very unstable. You can see that he's done a good job there, actually keeping it out of the tyre barrier. Very good job from Broomy indeed, but these Mercs look absolutely awful in the cooler conditions. That's why they should have gone for a BMW, as I am a BMW sales rep from my last championship at GT3. So I would have mentioned probably go for the BMW next time, boys.
Yes, definitely. Great bit of advice there from yourself, Rob. And, well, nothing worse than an unstable hooker in a Mercedes. Not that I've got to deal with that too many times in my life at the moment, but 25 minutes and counting as John Dog in the Renault there, the very jazzy-looking purple Renault. Just sporting a bit of a Joker livery here tonight, but there is nothing to joke about when it comes to John Dog 2010. A man who's not quite as salty as Wilco, but boy, he does get up and about on the PSN messages if you don't reply to him within 2 months. But, well, enough about that. It's Andy off into the pit lane now, and is this a good time to come into the pits on lap 11, Rob? He has a penalty, but he's getting that pit stop out of the way, and it could see him in a pretty handy position later on, and well, we've only seen a couple of drivers to pit who have pitted so far, I should say, but as Truss now, 6.3 seconds. Well, that gap is just stretching out now. It's over 6 seconds. What can Truss do to maintain that gap? In? He was 1 second slower than Waffles on that last lap. So Waffles has it all hooked up so far tonight.
Yeah, very interesting place for Truss to be at the moment, to be honest. He doesn't really sit in these sort of positions at all. To be honest, I can't remember many times he's been in this sort of position, but I've got to say he's probably actually driving to the maximum of that car's ability at the moment. We know how good he is. I certainly know from personal experience how good he is as well. And I've got to say, those Mercs, all the Mercs look like they're having some really bad rear locking issues at the moment. So I've got to say he's driving to the best of that car's ability. And that's about it. Certainly he's driving around the problems. He's not, I mean, he's certainly putting some good lap times, but that McLaren at the front at the moment is looking like the superior car. So, yeah, I mean, it could come back to Truss, you know, the circuit could rubber in a little bit more, you know, the track could heat up by a degree or two, and that might help him with some stability issues, but at this point in time, I can certainly say for sure that Truss is driving around problems at the moment.
He certainly is, but still having said that, he is doing a good job. 6 seconds off the lead, but still a further 10 seconds ahead of Aussie Bro. So like we've said before, the field spreading out at the moment as we take a look at LJ Hooker in P5. There's 6 seconds off of V-Fingers in P4. And, well, he hasn't done too bad at the moment. Currently sitting in the top 5 hooked. And I'm not sure where he finished last week, because I just don't have the results in front of me at the moment, but I think it was the lower part of the top 10, and I guess that's a pretty fair assumption given we only have about 10 drivers, Rob.
Yeah, I mean, that's a pretty good assumption. I mean, unfortunately, my brain's not very good at retaining very immediate situations, sorry, not situations, well, sometimes situations. I don't remember having sex that one time, but let's not talk about that. But I've got to say, yeah, I can't remember that far back, to be honest, but I'm glad you can, Trev. You are the man who is upholding the bargain here. I'm just here to talk shit and make some reasonable eyesight accusations about the car's handling and the drivers themselves. I mean, certainly Hooked is a very good hooker, and John Dog is your best friend, mate.
He certainly is, and don't we love him. Speaking of my best friend, he came into the pits, well, on lap 1 pretty much. I think it might have still been the formation lap, but it wasn't a bad idea in the end. He is 32 seconds off the lead, as we might just get that speedo up there to just give our viewers a view of the speeds and the sort of gear changes involved here, and indeed the sort of fuel that these cars have on board tonight. But speaking of my brother-in-arms, John Dog 2010, he is currently in P6, 4 seconds off LJ Hooker. Thank you, Mr. Hooker. And indeed, Broomy behind him, sweeping into the top 7 tonight. And Andy, well, he's pretty much nowhere, but most of the drivers in the 125s, only the 2 drivers in the 124s, ahead of Wolfie, who's completely in another time zone at the moment. Rob, he's a minute and a half off the lead, and he's down in the 129s at the moment, but still full points for trying. Yeah,
certainly full points for trying. And actually, I'm going to say here, I'm just looking at these timesheets at the moment. Truss has been quicker for the last 3 laps, around about 5/10 a second, but certainly he's pulling into Waffle's lead there. So we could see a race here in the last certainly 15 minutes. That car, I mean, that car still looks like a handful to drive, and I personally wouldn't want to be in it, but he's making the best of a bad situation, and Waffles is dropping back to him at the moment. So there could be something to really talk about in the next couple of minutes, Trev.
Yes, God, I hope so. But we will continue on anyway, as V-Fingers there now in P4, 125.2 last time around. So do not go anywhere, ladies and gentlemen. This race is far from being over. That is for sure. And round 2 of this OTR Championship, organised lovingly by Aussie Bro, who's currently in the top 3 at the moment. We finished with SRL, now we're on to OTR. And boy, we would be in a shit sandwich. We are absolutely loving this stuff. We would be in everything, if you don't mind, each and every week now, with less than 20 minutes to go in this race here at Laguna Seca tonight. It is Waffles looking the goods at the moment, but we've seen Trust do this time and time again. He's gone 7/10 quicker on that last lap, and well, that gap now just shortening. Like the odds on the Magpies to defeat the Eagles tomorrow night, but well, it'd be a brave man to bet against the Eagles at home. Speaking of football, the Adelaide Crows doing rather nicely, although they lost the showdown last week. But it's not about football, it's about this race, and boy, those lap times starting to tumble now, and it's 4.4 seconds, Rob, between second and first.
Yeah, they're certainly closing up that gap now, so hopefully that will give us some very good and spicy content to commentate over. But I've got to say, I'm enjoying watching John Dog spin around almost. That's not exactly what I was going to say in that sentence, but boy, certainly I'll be getting some messages about that. But John Dog has actually put himself in a pretty good position here. I mean, he didn't qualify that well, and went for that pit stop on the parade lap, and he's got himself up in the 6th. So a very brave and wise decision from John Dog there. Very smart from that man indeed. But at the moment, Truss is absolutely just banging in the lap times, Trev.
He certainly is, a 124.0 on that last lap. Timing impeccable there, Rob, as we see him come across the line now to begin lap 16 of this race. So 16 laps completed then. Waffles now answering back. That gap steady now at just over 4.3 seconds last time around. And he set a 124.393. So they are going toe to toe at the moment. And then it's it's a further 2 seconds a lap back there to Aussie Bro, 17.5 now behind this lead battle. But 17 and a half minutes now to go in this race. And I wonder if or indeed when we're going to see these two at the front make their pit stops. But we know Truss, Rob, he likes to play the long game, and he might have a few tricks up his sleeve before the night is over.
Yes, just like the British Army during World War II, putting fake divisions out, fake tanks and everything. But I mean, it could be a very good chance that these two boys won't take the pit stop. In fact, I probably would say that Truss is certainly planning to go very, very long here. You can see that car's actually looking very hooked up now. That car looks like it's got some more temperature into the tyres there, and it's just gripping a lot better, especially into that right-hand sweeper we just saw coming into that sort of very, very slow last corner. Not very sort of, it is a very slow last corner, around about 60 k's getting around there. So yeah, Truss certainly looking the goods at the moment, although Waffles did respond with a second in his lap time. So these two boys really duking it out now for lap time and position. So yeah, Truss needs to really pull up his socks as he tries to get into the loud pedal. A little bit too early into the first corner, and yeah, got that car a little bit sideways. Yes,
it doesn't take much. That first corner has been catching the Mercedes-Benz cars out, as Mighty Murph has been good enough to join the broadcast tonight. Boy, won't our man be up and about after that semi-final win last night. He has just been kind enough to flick us a comment. He says, "Hey, homies." I think that's what he says there. Yes, very good, bro. Big shout out to my New Zealand bro, and a big kia ora to you. And good luck to the Kiwis in the World Cup final on Sunday night. And hopefully Australia will be there to join you, and hopefully give you an absolute, hopefully to pull the pants down like they did last World Cup. But anyway, we'll just take our 5 World Cups with us there. Mighty Murph, and well, I don't think New Zealand's won one at the moment. In fact, only their second final, and V-Fingers off at the corkscrew, Rob.
Yes, he's absolutely done goof there, I've got to say. And another person who's sort of done goof and maybe shown his hand a little bit too early is Truss, actually. He's about 6/10 off the pace now of Waffles. He was certainly setting the pace now. He was in the 23s the previous lap. This lap he was 24, pretty much dead. Truss 6/10 off of that. So they're still setting some reasonable lap times, but V-Fingers doesn't look very comfortable in that car, and I could probably see him changing up cars for next race.
Yes, I wouldn't be at all surprised as Wilco just still a little bit salty, Rob, taking the piss, I reckon, saying, oh, the race got going, question mark, and then he's just proceeded to ask us what's happened in the first 18 laps. The beauty of these live streams, Rob, you can go back and Wilco, and check everything that's happened in the first 18 laps of this race. But there has been a bit happening as Mighty Murph. They're just saying he's stirring the pot a little bit, Rob, and you just don't quite know with Mighty Murph, do you? He just seems to be taking the piss, eh?
Yes, he seems to be taking the piss. There was a big rumour that Mighty Murph was actually going to be in this league. But of course he pussied out because he's just another homo Kiwi.
Certainly is, and like we said, Murph, congratulations to your boys as we go for a 6th ICC Cricket World Cup. Not sure where we're going to keep storing them all as Australia, speaking of cricket, have brought up their 100 after a shaky start. They're 3 for 100 at the moment, and well, speaking of the English cricket team, there's probably a fair chance they're going to choke tonight, but like we said, never judge a pitch until both teams have batted on it. But Murph saying glad to see that the Aussies have pulled their finger out. But anyway, speaking of pulling the finger out, Waffles has done that. He's gone a second quicker. Look at that. And that gap is up over 7 seconds here on lap 19 of this race here at Laguna Seca Raceway. And, well, V-Fingers there. He went off at the corkscrew, Rob, but he still managed to maintain 4th place. There was a fair gap in front of him and indeed behind him, so he's been able to round it up, get it all facing in the right direction, get it back on the black stuff and maintain 4th position. Yes,
he's maintained 4th position, and I mean, he finished 3rd last week, 4th tonight so far. Can't exactly lock it in at the moment, Eddie, but 4th at the moment. I wouldn't say that's a big failure. He's just hovering around that 3rd, 4th, 5th place area. So so far so good, and pretty consistent so far. But very early on in the season to be saying such things, and I've got to say, what happened to Truss, because he's just so far behind Waffles now. It's ridiculous. Waffles absolutely hustling that little McLaren as much as he can, and he's just making everybody look bad.
He certainly is, and well, Truss won 3 seconds, 2.8 seconds. In fact, behind Waffles there, so he must have made a mistake, Rob. We didn't quite catch it on the live stream, but speaking of not making a mistake, Broomy there currently in P6, and my lifelong friend John Dog a further 3 seconds behind him there. You saw the purple Renault flashing through the screen, and as he comes around now to complete his lap 19 into lap 20 now for Broomy down there in 6th position. 10 drivers started. I think we've still got 9 racing. Further down to Wolfie down there in P9, and boy, he might have made a pit stop, but he is way off the pace down there. He's about half an hour behind, a bit like South Australia, half an hour behind, but he's still, no, just joking, he's 2.5 minutes off, nearly 3 minutes off the leader there, Waffles. But I can't see anybody catching Waffles at this rate, and that gap now 10 seconds. So maybe Truss, Rob, quite content to stay in P2 maybe towards the final 11 minutes of this race.
Yes, I would imagine at this point sitting there in P2 would be the optimal position at the moment, although that would make Waffles and Truss tied on points for this championship. Of course, it is a championship, and that makes Jason just a little bit salty every time we mention the word championship.
Certainly does. It's not a one-off. We will be back. We were there last week. We're here this week and maybe next week as well, as Hayne has been good enough to join us. He says, "G'day lads, thumbs up, great to see you." Asked why he's not racing tonight. He said, "I wanted to, but I got held up at work." And but anyway, well, shit happens. But it's good to have your company tonight. Hayne 1994. We don't quite have the full accompaniment of family members for Hayne. I think we had the dad, the son, the brother, the cousin, you name it, joining the broadcast a few weeks ago.
The sister brother.
The sister brother, possibly the mother. But Mighty Murph just still saying, I love when you can shut Indians up, eh? And boy, he's still getting excited about that cricket victory last night. But, well, we've got to give him that at least as we count down now. Less than 10 minutes remaining in this session as Broomy appears to be approaching... is he approaching traffic? No, I think he's actually approaching Hooker. So this is for position P5 and 6. About to go hammer and tongs, Rob.
Yes, the broom will be sweeping out a Hooker, or maybe the Hooker will be using the broom, and I don't want to really have that mental image in my head, but now that I think about it, certainly it will be on a website that I like to browse so often, and I'm certainly not looking at buying things, although those European women are very cheap.
They certainly are. And yes, the spoils of war. As Mighty Murph saying AJ Hooker. I think he might mean LJ Hooker, but anyway, thank you for that as Broomy, unless I've missed something. Broomy there in P6, so looking for one of his best finishes that we're going to see here indeed in this championship or any other championship. Broomy, not often we've seen him sweep into the top 6, but indeed he might do that tonight as Truss now they're just matching lap times with Waffles, but that gap still 10.5 seconds with 8.5 minutes to go, or thereabouts in this race. So it's going to be a second a lap now. And in fact, well, look at the time is just, that gap is extending. It's out to 15 seconds now. And further back, Aussie, they're 32 seconds off the lead. So this, Rob, our camera's focused in on this battle. Because, well, plain and simply, it's the closest battle on track between 5th and 6th.
Yeah, certainly it's the closest battle at the moment. Unfortunately, I do believe the old connection issues that we had tonight certainly would have put a hamper on this race. Some of those boys look really, really quick, although those Mercs look very, very unstable. So, although this week is a lot different than we had last week, certainly the Audis were the ones in trouble last week. So, you know what, it could be one of those championships where a certain car might suit a certain circuit a lot better than the other. And it will be a little bit of a David versus Goliath, that battle, as you can see there. Hooked getting a little bit wide onto the dirt on the right-hand side there. His tyres a little bit more dirty now. And he's got that to contend with, a little bit more slippy. Although he does get a very, very good exit out of that corner, and now he's thundering down that main straight.
7.5 minutes to go in this race, and you are spot on. Thundering down the main straight is Broomy, a 124.1. I can keep hearing a baby crying, but I hope that's well and truly under control with the misses. But a 124.1 there for Waffles last time around. Lap 23 of this race. And, well, Mighty Murph and Wilco just taking the piss indeed. Up and about on the SRL bandwagon. We haven't abandoned you. In fact, we are the show. So probably don't try and piss us off too much, because we can take our business elsewhere. And I don't mean to talk tough, Rob, but we really are the eye candy when it comes to streaming.
Oh, and as you say, that Broomy goes around and weird camera view there for a trackside view. A little bit weird, but of course we're the eye candy. We are the selling point of all leagues. Of course, if you don't stream, they don't come, of course. Great quote from Wilco.
Certainly is, and you want to, of course, come in a lobby with plenty of unstable hookers. Well, I'm not really sure what's happening there, but I can tell you what's happening with V-Fingers. Just going down the Rob Dog line of humour there, but not quite coming off. Not really dipping my bread in it the way I would have liked at the moment. And Wilco just saying, don't forget where you came from, Trev. 67 subs back in February 2018. And now we're well up over 1,000. And that's on my second channel. But anyway, V-Fingers currently in P4, 10 seconds ahead of AJ Hooker. AJ Hooker, you're the best, eh? Oh, I'm still pissed from last night. Anyway, ease on, little boys. And just Wilco now, he's just, well, Wilco, I'm not sure whether he's Bernie Eccleston or whether he's Mr. Miyagi at the moment. He says, remember your roots. young grasshopper. Oh boy, I can remember my roots, Rob, because it's got me into a lot of trouble in the last 18 months.
Yeah, crikey, I can remember my roots as well. I could number them. Of course, I can count them on just one hand, which means I must have some super seed.
Yes, and part of the master race. But anyway, 5 minutes to go in this race. And Wilco saying, "I am your father." Yes, just a bit of Darth Vader sort of stuff there. That was a really shithouse impersonation there, but I'm not a Star Wars fan. As just under 5 minutes to go. And V-Fingers now across the line, 43 seconds in fact off that lead lap. But these positions looking fairly stable. I don't think we're going to see too many changes in the final part of this race.
Yes, I certainly don't expect many changes as the timing on my screen is a little bit bugged, I've got to say. So Aussie Bro and V-Fingers are showing there 54 seconds and 54 seconds off the lead. So that gave me a little bit of hope. They were a lot closer, but of course they are not, which kind of sucks big old AJ hookers anyway. Yes, it's just not looking great at the moment for the timing sort of things. But of course, I could actually see a blue car there in the background, and Broomy and Andy are now very close to each other. So this could be very interesting. Of course, Andy Holden is actually carrying a time penalty, so he needs to really get a wiggle on between him and John Dog to get some a little bit more points than the fellow behind, but also I reckon he'd be pretty hungry to have a bite at the Broomy, the old Broom. Of course, you shouldn't be eating any wood. Someone tell that to the hooker in front of Broomy.
Yes, AJ Hooker there still sitting pretty in 5th position. So 3.5 minutes to go in this race, and if your name's Waffles, you've probably got 1 or possibly 2 laps to go. Truss there still in 2nd place, but Hayne just wanting to know, Truss is off the pace, wrong head in charge tonight. I'm not sure what that means, as Mighty Murph, geez, still on the cricket bandwagon, Murph. We get the idea. He says Martin Guptill or Kane Williamson, and we all know that I'm a Jimmy Neesham man, and that's all I want to say about that. So here we go then. Andy, like we said, he's got a penalty. I'm not sure why he has a penalty. It's been a very funny night. We've seen everything tonight, Rob. We've seen disconnections, old lobbies, new lobbies, and we've had more restarts than you can poke a stick at. But we have not seen that Russian submarine or the Chinese submarine for that matter. So, well, that's a positive.
Yeah, that is a positive. Of course, it'll be pretty hard to get a Chinese submarine into the dry part of California, although those Chinese are very ingenious little fellows, so they could probably do it.
Yes, and stop sending your goddamn warships into our airspace. I'm in the air at the moment.
There's more planes in the ocean than there are submarines in the sky.
Yes, and just thinking about the glorious Luftwaffe at the moment is Andy now. Penalty or no penalty, he's going to try and sweep past Broomy as Mighty Murph and Wilco still going hammer and tongs on the comments, saying that this stream is missing a beer. And I've had probably too many of them at the moment. Shep as well. Enough about that. So less than 2 minutes remaining. The countdown is on here for round 2 of OTR here at Laguna Seca Raceway in California. As Andy coming through, sweeping up towards turn 11, the last corner here. One more chance, I reckon. Or he might get a couple of cracks at this. They're going to cross the line and there's going to be 2 laps remaining, is there? If they can get across the line in time, I reckon Andy is going to have a crack here. Never mind about the next lap, Rob. He could have a crack at him down into turn 1.
I mean, the sooner he gets past, the more he can build that gap between him and Broomy. So he's right up on the bumper now on the rear diffuser of Broomy, having a little look. I wouldn't say a big move, just testing the waters there a little bit. And of course, that actually probably slowed him up a lot more than it did Broomy, getting on the loud pit a little bit too early. You can see the rear end of that car stepping out. It'd probably be hard for you guys at home to see that from the view we were on, but certainly I can see the opposite lock from my train eye when it comes to these sort of cars. You can see Broomy though putting a really good show, a little bit of opposite lock coming around that corner there. Of course, that corner uses a lot of camber, so that's what you use to get around there to get pretty good pace actually, around 150 kilometres an hour through that corner, both onto the dirt now, trying to use and maximise the line. Very Craig Lowndes-esque, as I risk sounding like Mark Scaife there into the corkscrew, and he's just getting around a little bit loose, and he's lost it. What an absolute twat.
He's lost it. He has choked just like the South Africans in the Cricket World Cup, or the English, in fact, in any World Cup. But he will be pushing shit uphill, you'd have to say, to get that gap close enough to Broomy. Who knows? So we've still got one lap remaining for these blokes at least here tonight. But I reckon Waffles will be on his final lap at the moment, Rob, as we see Broomy there with the wide shot of him there, currently in P6. I reckon he's going to be safe in P6 tonight, and indeed it is. This man, Waffles, who is coming across the line. He's come across the line, I should say, and won this race ahead of Truss. And stepping the back end out there, out of the final quarter, across the line to finish second in this race, as I can hear little Taylor in the background there wondering where Daddy is and what is he doing. But Aussie Bro now, a good result here. He's going to finish in P3, but, well, V-Fingers right behind him and putting pressure on him on the last lap, Rob.
Yeah, certainly putting the pressure on him. You can see V-Fingers getting a little bit wild there, and Aussie Bro making a mistake coming into the corkscrew, so he might actually have a time penalty against his name. He might get away with it though. Hopefully he does, because he's certainly earned that position. Our man in charge, and the V-Fingers coming across the line for a solid fourth place, even though that car look very, it's flying.
Well, it certainly is, and well, a bit of, well, that's quite funny, actually.
Yeah.
John Dog just, yes, on the receiving end there, not like the PSN messages a few hours ago. He was dishing it out, now he's copping it right up the tailpipe as Broomy comes across the line there, finishing P6, and has Andy managed to go one better than him? No, he hasn't, as John Dog 2010 there. And, oh, it's the Wolf. Look at this. Driver of the day. The man, the legend, the myth. Look at this. He's put it in R, and he's coming across the line. And that man on your screen is your driver of the day. I don't know about what you reckon, Rob, or anyone at home, but that man is in years ahead of his time, and he has wisdom much beyond his years. But there we go, the final results on your screen then in this scintillating Laguna Seca race here, round 2 of the OTR Championship. It is Waffles and Bits in P1, Truss in P2 after his victory last week. Aussie Bro in P3, V-Fingers in P4, ahead of AJ Hooker in P5. Broomy sweeping into the top 6, ahead of Andy there in P7. And John Dog there in P8, your good friend and mine, ahead of It's the Wolf 464, who reversed across the line, but he still picks up 2 points here tonight. And, well, it was a little dull in places, Rob, but still enough action here in this second round of the championship to keep us interested.
Yeah, very, very good indeed. Certainly not as much action as there was last week, but we will move on to next week, and hopefully there'll be a little bit more people in there. Maybe people in the chat would like to join and prove everybody else wrong that this looks easier than it actually is.
Yes, that's for sure. Easier said than done. As my cute little daughter Taylor just coming into the office there and is good enough to rearrange everything in the office where Daddy is. But anyway, enough about that as we wait for the drivers to come into the post-race interviews here tonight. Your top 3, Waffles, Truss and Aussie Bro. And hopefully, we say it each and every week, Rob, but hopefully they can allow their voice to be shared so everybody can watch it on the live stream. Tonight, as Stress Budget Racing has been good enough to join us, he says, hi, blokes, good job for another week. And Hayne says, hey, Dad, smiley face. I'm not sure what's happening there.
That's a bit scary.
That's a little bit weird, but anyway.
Scary, yeah.
And Wolfie there saying that the throttle was sticking, the brakes were fucked, the tyres were shit, the steering was off, but all good otherwise as he finished in P9. And Rob, take it away with our post-race interviews here tonight.
Very good. Aussie Bro, it's as I almost sneeze, everything's fine here. Aussie Bro, it was a very quiet race for me tonight, but I've got to say, third position, considering last week's result, must be tasting very, very sweet.
Yeah, it was actually nice to get myself up on the podium for a change without having too many race incidents, Rob. It was a good long, boring race. The car kind of fell away towards the end, and V was closing in pretty quick in the last sort of 5 to 10 laps. But yeah, it was a nice run. I enjoyed that under the amount of practice and how poor the car was actually set up. I'll take the result, that's for sure.
I mean, it's certainly good to see a man who organises a lead to finish on the podium, as Trev would probably say yes to that as well, as we move on to Truss. A man in second, probably didn't have his correct head on tonight, but a man finishes second and is tied in first for the points position. So Truss, bit of a lonely race, I've got to say. You looked okay there in the mid part, but certainly fell away again in the last 15 minutes or so. That car not looking spectacular tonight.
No, it was horrible. No, I had the same problem as Wolf. I had a sticky accelerator, so about after the 5th lap his throttle started sticking on, so that sort of made it a bit harder to sort of keep on the back of Waffles. So, but well, it keeps the championship alive, that's for sure.
Yeah, it certainly does. I mean, I've got to say, word of advice to you and Wolfie there. I would say when you're watching a certain type of film, I would say Debbie Does Dallas, for example, I would watch that away from your pedals, because accidents do happen and they do get a little bit sticky.
Oh, well done, Rob.
Yes, good stuff. Good stuff. And have we got Aussie Brew? Have we got Aussie in the post-race interviews at the moment? Aussie, speak now,
yes,
or forever hold your peace.
I've already done him.
Well, you've already done him. Boy, that's one way of putting it, Rob. How well are we travelling? Once again, each and every week is, there we go. Good girl. Well, Daddy will be finished the commentary stuff in a second. But who haven't we interviewed then, Rob? Where are we up to?
Waffles, mate.
Waffles, are you there, man?
I'm here.
Oh, that's good.
I've had headset issues on the racing.
Okay.
They went flat.
We've all been there. It happens to the best of us. But all right, Taylor. Yep, Daddy will be there in a second. My daughter there, just joining us in the post-race interviews. But Waffles, talk us through the race, mate. It looked like a dominant performance, and you didn't put a foot wrong there, mate. And just talk us through your race.
I think the formation lap helped me quite a bit, because those Mercedes are quick off the line, but other than that, I felt really confident and comfortable in that car. So usually when you're comfortable, you're quick. And I just kept plugging away at the laps. The only time I had an issue when my headset went flat, I had to rip it off and then turn the volume up. I hit the wall on the pit straight. But
yes.
Lucky, no damage.
Yes,
so just kept going.
Certainly is, and well, to finish first you must finish, or something like that. I think it was that Ron Dennis said many years ago. But boy, that was a bit random. But well, Waffles, still you had to get the job done, and indeed you did. But were you a little bit concerned there during the midway point of that race, because all of the cars, especially the Mercedes, seemed quite unstable, especially out of turn 1?
No, not really. As I said, the car was handling quite well, so all race it was doing what I was asking it to do. So, no issues. Pretty much as soon as I saw Truss have issues and he's dropped like 15 seconds, it's like, yeah, pretty much got it from here.
Yes, well, congratulations, mate. A fantastic performance. And, well, Rob, it gives us a very spicy championship heading into round 3, wherever that may be next week, Waffles. But congratulations on the win tonight, and all the best for next week.
Thank you.
Yes, interesting there. We're hearing from all 3 drivers in the post-race interviews. As Wilco saying, is it take your kid to work day? Is it, Trev? Yes, it certainly is. And yes, Taylor, she'll be in the commentary seat. She loves her daddy, and I'm sure she'll be in the commentary seat for maybe Project Cars 7 on the PS4, PS15 in years to come. But Rob, we are just about out of time with all of the fun and frivolity that we've had tonight. But mate, it's been fantastic once again. We had some issues earlier on, of course, with the dodgy internet connections, not just in South Australia, but of course around the world. But it's been good, mate. Lots of fun, and hopefully we can do it all again next week.
Yeah, certainly. Hopefully we do it all next week. I mean, we're certainly going to do it next week, even to Jason's dismay. the salty man he is. But certainly we'll definitely have our man Brody in here, Cart Dude. He'll be racing next week. And hopefully we do get Hayne in here as well, so that will be even better. But Aussie, where are we racing this week? Next week? Sorry, my English has gone to shit.
Well, next week was a bye for school holidays, but the following round after that will be at Sugo.
Sugo.
Yes, Sugo in Japan. So don't forget to join us for that. That, of course, will not be next Thursday, but the Thursday after, of course, on the Kid Buyers channel, live and exclusive. That will be the third round, or third round, I should say, yes, of the OTR Championship. The Aussies are 5 for 130 there in the Cricket World Cup semi-final. Steve Smith still there on 59 not out. Marcus Stoinis has just departed LBW, bowled by Adil Rashid. So Glenn Maxwell now in there. So Australia, yeah, like I said, 530 there against, looking for that final spot in the World Cup final. Rob, thanks for joining us, and a big thank you to everybody, all 12 people who have been good enough to join us here tonight. It's been fantastic, but once again, it's bye for now. We'll see you in a couple of weeks' time. See you next time.